Hello, men and you ladies that have joined us today. Welcome to another episode of Mondays with Doc. I'm obviously not Dr. Sam. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Kim, and I'm Dr. Sam's admin. Don't worry, he's doing okay. He just asked me to step in while he's recovering from knee replacement surgery to share with you all a little bit about my story over this last couple of years, which have probably been some of the toughest years of my life. So I hope that the things that have helped me get through these years will also help and encourage you. So before I tell you my story, I wanted to share with you all the Bible verses that helped get me through not only these past couple of tough years, but really the verses that I've anchored my life on. The verses come from Philippians chapter 3, verse 13 through 14. And the Apostle Paul writes, "But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead." He continues on saying, "I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus."
34-year-old Estella Kim was on top of the world. Her dreams of adopting a little boy she's taken care of since he was 6 months just came true. Then a recent emergency room visit for some shoulder pain and fatigue changed everything.
When my labs came back, my white blood cell counts were 200, which is like 5 times the normal amount.
The ER doctor told her she may have cancer.
I was still in denial at that point. I kept asking them, hey, what's the best case scenario? Can this be lupus? Can this be other autoimmune diseases?
24 hours later, a bone marrow biopsy confirmed her worst fears.
The oncologist, Dr. Michael Carroll, said, this is leukemia. And so that's when the reality set in.
Estella said doctors told her not to worry. They were hopeful to find a match.
When the search came back, he said it had been one of the most miserable searches that he had ever done, and that there were 0 matches. And so we are still awaiting the international database through Korea.
To register and see if you are a match for Estella, just text Estella, E-S-T-E-L-L-A, to 61474, and you must be between the ages of 18 and 44 years old, and will receive a free swab kit in the mail.
On March 10th of last year, my baby sister Estella, as you saw in the video, was diagnosed with leukemia at the age of only 34. It was devastating news for our family, as my older sister had also battled and thankfully overcome cancer in the past. But I remember thinking, not again. And now with Stella, it was hard for all of us to believe, and it always is. Every time we hear news of someone getting cancer or dying unexpectedly, it's so hard to believe. But the hardest part was that her doctors could not find her a bone marrow match, as you watched in the video. I don't understand all the science behind it, but her match would most likely be found from a person of Korean descent. The problem was not a lot of Korean people had been tested in the past. So the sample size was and is still very, very small. The perfect match, however, is out there, but there just isn't a way to know who without more testing. This bad news, well, it was hardest for my father to deal with, so he began doing everything he could to find my sister a bone marrow match. He began contacting the Korean newspapers, Korean news stations, and even Korean churches all around California in hopes to spread awareness and encourage Korean people to get tested. He was calling everyone he could think of and even started to make a small impact in the country of South Korea. My father was on a relentless pursuit, and as a result was losing a lot of sleep. On top of everything he was already doing, he also drove my sister to the hospital every single day and would even stay with her overnight when she was unable to go home. I'm not sure if my mother or my sister noticed it, but I could see desperation all over my father's face. It was heartbreaking to me, and it would only get worse. On May 4th, about 2 months after Estella's diagnosis, my father's friends from church wanted to help get his mind off of everything by taking him to go do what he loved to do the most, and that's fishing. He was reluctant to go at first because he felt guilty, but decided that it would be good for him to go. So on they went, driving 2 hours to Point Reyes Beach, a place my father had never fished at, was unfamiliar with, despite having fished his entire life. When they had arrived, out of excitement, my father rushed out of the car, grabbed his fishing gear, and on his own headed straight to the water to go fishing. His friends could see him from a distance, digging in the sand, searching for bait. They must have been so glad to see him doing what he loved to do most, but unfortunately any gladness that they had felt would soon be taken away. When they had finally reached the shore to join my father, he was nowhere to be seen. All they saw was his fishing gear on the ground, drifting in the surf. They feared the worst had happened, and it did. You see, Point Reyes Beach is known to have what they call sneaker waves and riptides, which my father fell victim to. He had his back against the water, and a sneaker wave caught him by surprise. And because he was wearing fishing waders, he most likely got stuck in a riptide. My father, who was healthy and determined to see my sister healed, drowned that day on the beach. Today, Estella is still battling for her life, but I'm happy to say that we're all doing well and staying in the fight. We are remaining hopeful and know that God is fully in control. We really do believe that in our hearts. And I know that there are a lot of you out there today that are struggling, whether it's something that happened before COVID or happened because of COVID, and then there's other things that may have happened. You may be experiencing the death of a loved one, or maybe a loved one is sick. Maybe you lost your job and you're just trying to figure out ends meet. So once again, I just hope that the things that helped my family and I get through these tough times will also help and encourage you. So what helped my family get through all of this? I want to lean back on the first verse, the verses that I opened with in Philippians. Paul wrote, "But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead." The word strain in the original Greek context speaks of stretching oneself forward, See, Paul, he knew that when we faced challenging times, that it wouldn't be easy for us to press forward, that we would have to strain, that we would have to stretch ourselves to press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. For those of you who love football, I'll illustrate it this way. It's like a good running back who doesn't stop moving his feet or his legs when someone tries to tackle him, or if 3 or 4 defenders hold on to him. He continues to drive his feet into the ground, straining and stretching himself towards the goal. Friends, we cannot stop moving our feet. In a more practical sense, what helped me to look forward was surrounding myself with the right people. What do I mean, and who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the church. You see, the people of my church, and really the people that I work with, they surrounded me. They prayed for me. They were available for me to just talk to. They walked with me. They're still walking with me. And so today, I encourage you, if you're not plugged into a church, I encourage you to get on that without delay. There are people out there that are wanting to pray with you, people out there that are wanting to walk with you, that are wanting to strain and stretch towards that goal with you. But it's up to you to reach out to them. My poor mother, her husband drowned just recently, and her youngest daughter is battling for her life. But let me tell you, she's keeping her eyes on Jesus. She's pressing forward. She's looking towards eternity. And now, is she strained? Is she being stretched? Absolutely. She is exhausted. She doesn't always show it, but I know that she is so exhausted. But moving forward and keeping her eyes on Jesus is what has gotten her through these couple of years. So as Dr. Sam usually says, now you know. But more importantly, what are you going to do about it? God bless you. I'll see you guys next time.